Let's talk about the Manticore Power Rack from Bells of Steel. There are two things that are going to be unique about this video that you don't want to miss. One, this will be from the perspective of someone who has actually been using it for almost a year now. And two, no matter where you are in the world, this review will give you everything you need to know to make an informed comparison. But at the end, when I break down the cost, I'm gonna be giving that to you in Canadian dollars. This will be from the value perspective of cost and shipping to you, my fellow Canucks. I think this rack is a contender for the best that you can get for the money in Canada. But is it? Let's find out. Hey new friends, I am the one and only Canadian Steve. That's right, each country gets only one of us. That's just how it is. I don't make the rules. That would be the Council of Steves.
You think I did this?
This big old beast here behind me is the Manticore Power Rack from Bells of Steel, a true 3x3 inch rack with 1-inch holes. And I'll explain what that means in just a moment. So while you're strategizing your Black Friday purchases, I will tell you everything you need to know about this. I'll compare it to its main competitors. I'll tell you the difference between it and its sort of little brother, the 5/8 inch Hydra, also from Bells of Steel, and why I think this one might be the better option for you. I'll run through the accessories, what I like, what I don't like about it, and a few things that I think could be a little bit better, because there are a few. Let's take a closer look at it. Now I got the weight stack loaded lat pull down low row, which I think is absolutely worth the money. My old Bells of Steel light commercial rack was plate loaded. And while that is a fantastic way to save money, I just love being able to quickly change the weights. It's great for drop sets and generally being lazy between sets. Plus, it's less math. I mean, everyone knows a 45 on each side is 135, right? That's just basic gym math. But what is it on here? 50? 200? There's just no way to know. This way you don't have to think about it. You just have to read numbers. So save your mental energy for that mind-muscle connection. But really, I absolutely love it and I'll never go back. Backtracking on what I just said, one of the things that I love the most about this weight stack is that it still has weight horns. So even though the stack goes up to 210 pounds, the weight horns let you load it up to 500 pounds, if you're a beast like me.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, lightweight.
Now the weight stack only comes with the 84 and 90 inch uprights. Because you do lose a little bit of cable travel here, so the range of motion would just be too small with the 72 inch uprights. Now I have the 90 inch here, and I will tell you without hesitation that if you can fit it in your space, absolutely go for the 90 inch, which are actually 90.5, just FYI when you're measuring your space. And Bells of Steel says that this lat pull down attachment adds 4.5 inches to the total height, which is absolutely not true. It only adds about 1.25 inches because it sits on top the back cross member, which is below the top of the uprights. If you look here, the maximum height that you're gonna reach at the top of the pulley is only 91.75 inches. For reference, I'm 5'9", I have 8-foot ceilings, and I can get a good range here. I can get a full stretch and a good range of motion at the top because I got the straight bar across the top instead of the arched bar, which would have been too tall. So at first I actually did get 94 inch uprights, thinking the 90s would be too tall for this space, because my old light commercial rack was 84 inches and it always seemed right. But once I got this set up, it seemed way too short, and I realized it's because the tops are different on each of them. The commercial rack, they came together right at the top, and this one, like I said, sits a little bit below the upright. And I'll tell you why that matters for me. I'm gonna have another video coming out here right away, and I basically hooked up a bunch of cables and pulleys to turn this whole thing essentially into a functional trainer and a pretty good belt squat. So if you're interested in seeing that one, consider subscribing and hit me up with a like here if you're finding this video useful. So another big difference with the shorter version is that you're losing 6 inches of cable travel. So if you like doing a real full range of motion lateral raise like me with a real deep stretch at the bottom, I find I'm using pretty much the whole cable here. Like, it's really good, but I'm using it all. There's loads of room for a normal lat pull down, but lately I've really been digging this super stretched out one arm version, and I find I'm using all the height here. However, this is not a deal breaker exercise, and there are always ways to make these movements work if you don't have the height for it. Now, that's not at all to say that 84-inch uprights are a bad choice. If you have a lower basement ceiling, this will be amazing for you. And I actually love that they offer this range of heights for that reason. And if you're not doing all the fancy cable stuff like I'm doing, and you're just lifting like a normal person, then you'll love it. So absolutely don't let that deter you from pulling the trigger on an 84-inch rack. It's like they always say, size doesn't matter, it's how you use it. And speaking of things that are true, I said before this is a true 3x3. All that means is that the tubing here is exactly 3 inches by 3 inches in metric imperial freedom units, or 76.2 millimeters by 76.2 millimeters in the rest of the world units. So it's gonna be the same size as all the other American-made racks like Rogue or Sorinex. Every other imported rack like Rep or Titan are using a metric 75 millimeters by 75 millimeters, so a little smaller. Realistically, a 3x3 inch rack with 1-inch holes could be considered serious overkill for a home gym, but it is so nice to have. And you didn't come here to be small, and you didn't come here to buy small things. I actually used to have a smaller rack before I got the implant. Before I got this. Now, if you've ever used a smaller rack, like a 2x2 or something like that, it's not gonna break, it's not gonna fall over, and unless you're Mitchell Hooper, it'll hold your weights, but it'll shake a lot. And let me tell you, this thing is an absolute monster beast. This thing is a beast. But seriously, I think Bells of Steel knew what they were doing when they named the Hydra and the Manticore after 2 mythological monsters. This was made to compete with the Rogue Monster and Monster Light series at realistically a fraction of the cost, which is pretty awesome. Same size tubing, same specs on the holes and spacing, same keyhole design on the sides, and even the same width at 49 inches, where other imported racks are 47. So why does this matter? It means that all of the accessories are fully compatible between the Rogue Monster and the Bells of Steel Manticore. Almost. There is one difference in the construction between them. The top cross members on the Monster are flush with the top of the uprights, like my old rack. The only thing I can see that affecting is that the Rogue Monster Slinger wouldn't work on the Manticore, although it's possible the Monster Light Slinger might work. It's just something to be aware of. Personally, I don't think this matters. But this compatibility is also really good news if you already own a Monster rack, because you can still use all of the many excellent and much less expensive Bells of Steel accessories with your Monster rack. So here are some of the key things I really love about it. There are laser cut numbers all the way up the front and back on every hole. And just like the weight stack, this means I don't have to think about what I'm doing, which is great. So I do think this keyhole design on the sides of the rack like Rogue is doing is pretty cool, but admittedly, it's not something I've ever used. It lets you attach 5/8 inch attachments and accessories off to the sides, like what would come with the Hydra or the Rogue Monster Light. So there is a scenario that I can see this being useful for. I like to use my seal row pad off the side of the rack. This thing is awesome, by the way, and if you happen to already have one for your Hydra, or you found a good deal on one, you could use it on the Manticore like this. I already mentioned how much I loved that they added these weight horns onto the weight stack. Cool thing is I can take these 2.5 pound plates, and when I throw them on, now we're going up in 5 pound increments instead of the 10 pound increments on the stickers. One thing to be aware of though, each of these horns weighs 5 pounds, so this starting weight of 10 pounds is actually 20 pounds. And every sticker is 10 pounds higher as well. Just something to be aware of. When you think you're maxing out at 100, you're actually a beast pulling 110. I've always been a big fan of safety straps. I really like that you can set them up at different heights to direct which way the bar rolls away from you. And I also really like that when you don't need them, pull one out, hang it off to the side, out of the way. You don't need somewhere to store them like you would if you had like the flip down safety bars. One of my favorite features, and one of the reasons why I upgraded, is that every accessory comes with UHMW plastic on all contact points. That to me is an absolute deal breaker, and I love it. It protects your rack from scratches and it protects your bar from damage. One of the coolest perks and just the icing on the cake for me is nice. These sweet, sweet mag pins, they come with every accessory for the Manticore, and I love them. This is one of those things, it's absolutely not a functional necessity, but man, they're just so cool. So what I think is really, really cool about this is you have companies like Oak Club that are selling mag pins for 116 US dollars. That's like 1,000 Canadian dollars. And Bells of Steel is including them with the Manticore accessories for free. I don't know of any other company that's including mag pins with their accessories. Well done, Bells of Steel. Well done. However, I do have one suggestion, Bells of Steel, if you're watching this. These little spring balls in the end, why? Just why? They serve no functional purpose. They just kind of get in the way when you're putting them in and out. They even came sort of loose on one of mine and I had to kick it free. The spring balls fell out and now it's perfect. If I can find a way to safely do it, I'm gonna pry all these balls out and make it just nice and smooth going in and out. So my suggestion would be save some money on the manufacturing process and just stop doing that. They'll be better. So how does the Manticore compare to the Hydra? Well, the Hydra is to the Manticore what the Monster Light is to the Monster. They're both fantastic options. They're both using 3x3 tubing, but where the Manticore uses 1-inch holes, the Hydra uses 5/8-inch holes. Still at 2-inch spacing, but in the bench press area, it shortens that gap to only 1 inch. That's called west side spacing, and if you really want to dial in your J-cup position on the bench press, the Hydra might be something to look at. On the Manticore, the keyholes run all the way down the sides at 2-inch intervals, but on the Hydra, you only have holes on the side every 6 inches. This might not affect you, but I like having the options. Although again, some of that has to do with the cable stuff I'm gonna be showing you in the next video. So
please subscribe to my YouTube channel.
And now the main reason why I think the Manticore is the better option, UHMW plastic on all the accessories. Like I said before, that's a deal breaker for me to have the UHMW to protect my uprights from being scratched, and for some reason the Hydra accessories don't have it. So it might not matter to you, but for me that was the deciding factor. So this video is already getting pretty long, so I'm just going to very quickly show you some of these accessories, but I will be making a follow-up video diving into each one of them in detail, so hit me up in the comments if that's something you'd like to see, and anything in specific detail that you'd like me to go over. The standard J-cups are pretty basic but well made. I put them up high when I need the bar out of the way, but otherwise I never use them because the other two options are so much better. I really like the sandwich J-cups for doing squats and setting up something like a Romanian deadlift or barbell row. They're very well made, they have excellent UHMW coverage all around. Also, check out these shorty little mag pins that come with them. These are pretty cool. These roller J-cups would actually fit under the category of one of my favorite things about this rack. I love them for the bench press. I'm always readjusting the bar before lift, and these are perfect. I would actually get these on any other rack as well because I think they're so good for how much less expensive they are over any other roller cups that I've seen. So I wasn't actually sure about this one when I bought it, but I really like using it. It's very comfortable for doing something like a chest supported dumbbell row. This one definitely needs another video to go into more detail, but I'd highly recommend it. The safety spotter arms are very well built at an excellent price, and again, I'll be showing a lot more of these in both the functional trainer video and the accessory video. The dip attachment is sturdy, and again, just another solid accessory at really the best price you're gonna find. Okay, I've been pretty excited about it so far, but let's go over some of the things that I don't like so much. The exit point for the lat pull down. The way this hole is cut, you can really only pull this cable straight down. If you try pulling it out at an angle, it'll scrape against the sharp edge of the steel tubing and damage the cable. Now I do have some solutions for this, but that will also be in the next video. This isn't so much of a dislike as a suggestion for improvement. If you can't tell from looking around, I really like things to be symmetrical and in place and lined up. Even my horse stall mats are perfectly centered on the rack. So when I line up my bench for a press, I want it perfectly centered. So the very first time I rolled this in and the wheels hit that low row foot plate, I thought to myself, I wonder why they didn't do two little cutouts here and here for the wheels to slide into. That would have centered the bench and it would have pushed it back a couple inches so I could do incline presses inside the rack. Something to consider on the next version. Minimal change, major improvement. As it stands now, the only way I can do incline presses is with a very low angle and using the sandwich J-cups because they do stick out a little further than the rollers, so it does work. But for a medium incline, I need to use the safety spotter arms and press outside the rack. Or just freewheel it because safety's for sissies, right?
No!
As much as I love the safety straps and would still absolutely recommend them, the design could be a little bit better. The way they've built these roller J-cups and the straps, you can't get them very close together. So if they either shorten the distance a tiny bit on the bottom of the J-cups or shave just a bit off the top of the safety strap brackets, you could close the gap by a full 2-inch hole space. A better design would be to attach the strap at the top of the bracket like Rep is now doing instead of at the bottom. The way it is now, the only way I can get the strap high enough to actually catch the bar is to raise the front bracket up 2 hole spaces and have the bar come to rest just above my throat. It definitely works and it keeps me safe, but it makes me really nervous every time I fail a lift like this.
Failure!
Hopefully by the time you're watching this video, I will have a Bells of Steel affiliate link down in the description. So if you want to help me out a little, please follow that link and check out all the really cool stuff on their website. Let's talk about that green and brown and purple and blue. That's right, good old plastic Canadian money. For each of these, I priced out a 90-inch rack, 30-inch depth, safety straps, standard J-cups, very basic build. And then I added a bunch of accessories like the weight stack lat pull down low row. So I did put the more expensive one in there just because that's what I have and what I really think is the best. Safety spotter arms, sandwich J-cups, and the dip attachment. I did not include roller J-cups or the seal row pad because not all 3 companies offer similar or equal options. Huge bonus to Bells of Steel here. They have a max shipping cap in Canada of $199, which is amazing for us. Spoiler alert, nobody's gonna touch that. Base Manticore build with shipping and GST is $1,830. If you add in all the accessories, that comes to $3,885. By comparison, the Rogue build is $2,960. That base build, that's adding $700 in shipping. That's massive, that's a huge difference. So it's hard to do a straight comparison here with the accessories because they don't offer all the same things. They don't offer a lat pull down of that sort of style. They do have a bolt-on version, but if you get that, or if you upgrade it to the FML, the functional trainer, which you kind of might as well at that point, but either way, you're over $8,000. So it's not even really a contender for price. So I think Rep is their next closest competitor in my opinion, but it's a little bit different. So again, this is an imported rack, so slightly smaller uprights, no keyholes on the side, 47-inch width instead of 49, which might be good for you or bad depending on what you like. But the height options here are only 80 and 93 inches instead of the Manticore's 84 and 90, which really could limit you. The cool thing the Rep does for us here in Canada, in the US, shipping is included in the price. So it's free, but not really. In Canada, they take the built-in shipping out. So they first reduce the cost for us and then add on international shipping. So shipping is still a lot more, but that does help. So a Rep PR5000 base build is actually fairly competitive at $1,865. So pretty much the same. But as you add on the accessories that I mentioned before, the shipping keeps going up and up and up. And now we're up to $4,740. That's almost $850 more than a decked out Manticore. So again, while Rep has competitive prices, the shipping kills us here every time. But Steve, what about companies like Titan and Sornex, I hear you asking through my psychic YouTube connection? Thing is, they're not available up here. I don't know, I think their trucks turn to solid blocks of ice as soon as they try to cross the border, and they just haven't figured that out yet. That's my best guess. Every other review I see likes to throw these all side by side, but it's just not the same for us up here. So for top tier home gym equipment, you're really looking at Rogue, Rep, Bells of Steel. And when you factor in the price of shipping, yeah, in my opinion, the Manticore from Bells of Steel is the best power rack that you can get in Canada for the money, hands down. What do you think? Am I crazy? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments.
So as they say in Canada, peace out.